I'm very grateful to Neil Farwell, who supported me at the Mythic tier and brings you today's video. Hashaton versus Ygra, Jodah and Saheeli. 2-lander, but we do have a means of discard. Nothing great to reanimate, but I'll try it. Saheeli plays a Soul Ring on turn 1 into a Talisman. A careful study should help us get into more lands, so play the Tricycle land in first. A turn 2 Saheeli thanks to all the fast mana, so makes a servo token with that. A Nature's Law from Ygra, who also got down a Fountain Port. Alright, we do manage to draw into another land, so I think I'll just get down the Ghostly Pilferer here because it's a means of discard for us, and there's not much sense in going for a couple of 1-drops in the Putrid Imp and the Careful Study. If we lose out on our discard outlet, it'll be easy enough to get the Imp out again. Tezzeret, Betrayer of Flesh, so we've got 2 Planeswalkers to worry about now. Draw 2 and discard 2 with the Tez. Discards an artifact, so only has to discard one thing, that is Ygra's Unstoppable Juggernaut. And also, with 5 cards left in hand, a Mycosynth Gardens can become a copy of an artifact. Pluses on Saheeli, discounting the next spell this time. This will cost 3 less because of the 3 artifacts in play. Oh, actually this is an artifact land, so it's 4 less. Meaning they can get down a 1-mana Forsaken Monument. Rapacious Guest after a tap land from Ygra, so likely part of a combo. A Nezahal would be a nice thing to copy to keep cards in hand. I think we just have to try and get down our commander here. Could give the Ghostly Pilferer unblockable here and get through to Saheeli, but I'm just going to pass through the turn here, maximise the actual discard that we want with the Ghostly Pilferer. That'll have to be from next turn onwards though. Chrome Mox into the Forsaken Monument, that will gain 2 life. Puts Tornos underneath the Chrome Mox. Draw 2 and discard with the Tezzeret again, meaning that they can get an emblem next turn potentially whenever an artifact you control becomes tapped, draw a card. And discarded an artifact. Only 3 cards left in hand at the moment at least. Discounting a spell with Saheeli again. I think they get a discount of 6 at the moment. So 2 blue mana for an Inspired Sphinx. When it enters, draw cards equal to the number of opponents you have, so goes up from 2 to 5 cards in hand. And then a Thought Monitor will draw a couple of cards as well. Encroaching Mycosynth as well, so that makes all their stuff into artifacts. So they've now got a couple of limit breaks online. Still holding up mana over here, so hopefully he's got something like a Chaos Warp or a Generous Gift. We might have to use Void Rend, take a turn off to try and slow this guy down next turn. I'll probably get rid of Tezzeret. Peregrine Took makes more food, and you can draw a card by sacrificing 3 food. 2-2 with Menace down the middle. So was able to make a couple of food tokens with the Guest, and after that protects his new creature with a Lightning Greaves. Alright, and Animate Dead means that we can discard something like Nezahal and reanimate it. But there's a lack of mana at the moment. If we had like 5 mana, we'd obviously make a copy. That's actually legendary, but we could do it with things like Massacre Worm and Ravenous Chupacabra, and then reanimate the copy from the graveyard and still have the token in play. Kind of get double triggers. We're on turn 4 now, so are we going to have a land in the top 3? And are we going to have the correct mana for a Void Rend? I mean, in order to try and keep up, I think we just have to go for it. Alright, Isolated Chapel is good, so let's get rid of Nezahal. We can reanimate with Animate Dead because it's a legendary creature like we just said, so we don't necessarily want to go for the token thing anyway and try and have 2 of them in play. I'll just have to get rid of the Chupacabra as well because really like the Consecrated Sphinx. So now we can go Isolated Chapel, and I can still go for Void Rend onto the Tezzeret. And we have to do it now because our opponent doesn't have the blue mana held up. Could discard a card here and go after Saheeli. I think we kind of have to do that. I'll have to hold priority. Okay, it went straight through to the blocking phase, even though I was holding control. Ugh. Yeah, when you hold control, you're supposed to hold priority after you make an action, so it should have allowed us to discard something in response to the attacks, but apparently not. I would have discarded the Putrid Imp regardless, but the difference being that our opponent can obviously mine us down now, but at least we've still got a means of discard at the moment. Well, this is the issue with Magic Online. The I never liked the whole holding priority thing. I've pointed it out every now and then when it's relevant, and it's really hit and miss as to whether it actually does it or not. Crystal Skull. Yeah, you can play cards off the top with that. And then Sensei's Divining Top. Do they have anything that discounts artifacts? Because they can just draw into their entire deck if so. And Ygra Moon Gauntlet. So they can -12 to take an extra turn. They can also proliferate. This is now an 8 loyalty Planeswalker. Cityscape Leveler gets to destroy something, so, well, we're not likely to do anything this game anyway. Command Zone, we can go... Yeah, let's say no. We can animate Dead on that, hopefully. Looking at the top 3 cards with Sensei's top. Jodah into play for the first time. I think that's the first spell this guy's cast. Ygra into play as well. So he's turned all of his creatures into food. This guy could win out of nowhere as well. Uses Deadly Rollick onto something. Oh, he used it on the Cityscape Leveler, exiling that. And now he's able to start going after, well, us with the 2/2 to make food. But after the Saheeli, which can be chumped with the Servo. Does this have Trample? No, it doesn't. 2+ counters goes onto the commander. And we do get a Power Stone thanks to the Cityscape Leveler. So that is something that we could put into the manner of the activated ability here. We can't cast non-artifact spells with it, but we can use it for abilities. Unfortunately, I threw away the Ghostly Pilferer last turn, so if we get into a land we'll be alright, but otherwise I'll have to take a turn off again, playing the Putrid Imp. So fingers crossed here. Okay, Hashaton. I think in that case it just has to be the Imp. And animate Dead onto Hashaton. Lodestone Golem, gaining 2 life with the Forsaken Monument. Gonna make the non-artifact spells cost more, which we don't particularly want to see more copies of, but I have a feeling we're about to. A Mox Diamond, 4 cards in hand. I think he's playing some of these off the top. Puts another counter on his commander, so that will go up to a 9 loyalty. Might take an extra turn with that. Is it Signet? Was from hand, because he's gone down to 3. Then a Mox Opal, a little bit of a Cheerios build we've got here. Research Thief, whenever an artifact creature deals combat damage, draw a card. They do have a few of those on the go. Do they both have flying? Yes, they do. All of their creatures are artifacts, of course, thanks to the encroaching Magsynth. Doretti, Scrap Savant, plenty of Planeswalkers to deal with here. And this now has the 12 loyalty it needs for the extra turn. Minuses on the Doretti, so it grabs back the Graz. Discounts another spell from hand, or from the top of the library. And we see Blightsteel Colossus, so someone's going to be taken out by that next turn. 5/3 goes in at Ygra, and so does the Sphinx. So draws 2 cards to the Research Thief. Emreet, Lurker of the Lot, comes in, and they milled another Tezzeret and a couple of lands. Oh, Psymaster Thopterist has made it into the bin as well. So did not go for the extra turn, surprisingly, left his commander at 13 loyalty. Vampiric Tutor for Jodah, doing that during the main phase though. There's a Phyrexian Tower that is of note over here, and the commander snuck up to a 14/14, a 5/5 Rapacious Guest. Okay, there's some politicking going on here. The middle player is being asked if he can be hit for getting a food token. I mean, yeah, that doesn't sound good. So the 2/3 goes down the middle and should be allowed through. That triggers the Rapacious Guest for the couple of food he's after. So now sacrifices 3 food to the Tuck for a card draw. 2+ counters each time on the Ygra, and 1 counter each time on the Guest. Then round to our turn, we do get into a land, that's good. That means we can reanimate 3 things here. We can go for, as much as I want to get the Sphinx down, we can go Massacre Worm and Hashaton, -4/-4 on everything, which doesn't kill everything. It'll get rid of Jodah, Tuck, and then some things over here. So let's discard the worm. We're going to be tapped out here is the only problem if I decide to attack him, but whatever. Barely done anything this game. Looking at the top 3 cards with the Sensei's Divining Top. And now the Ygra player has sent me a private message. So there's some Magic Online politicking going on here, which you don't see very often. I really don't trust anything that he's going to say, to be honest. I don't believe for 1 second that he won't take us out if he gets the chance. So -2/-2 on everything when Massacre Worm enters. And the Imp will get flying at some point, but we'll go for Hashaton now before that first one resolves. And obviously pay the 3 mana into that as well. So killing off a bunch of stuff. That is a bunch of plus counters on the Panther over here. And then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 triggers on Massacre Worm. 2 life per creature that died. So it's probably the case that Saheeli can get up a decent enough amount of loyalty to still go off with an extra turn. But I'm hoping that these two are going to have a bit of interaction held up. Although we haven't seen any so far. So we could hold back blockers, especially against the Blightsteel Colossus. But I think we need to be attacking in at Saheeli and make it more difficult for him there. So swing in and pass. Knocking this thing down to 9 loyalty so he can still go for the -7. The Jodah player decides to scoop after losing his commander. And then we see a Darksteel Forge. Goes for the Proliferate onto the Saheeli again. Already activated the Saheeli, by the way, to make the Darksteel Forge cost less, so I think the Izzet player is kind of playing with his food a little bit. He could have made multiple copies of all this stuff and just gone nuts on us by now. Shatterstorm is destroy all artifacts, and I think, yeah, everything's an artifact at the moment. Because of, where is it? The Encroaching Mycosynth puts another counter on the Duretti. So if the Golgari player does not have anything apparently, or nothing that he wanted to make use of, he's probably just trying to push commander damage through next turn. So us being a turn behind after throwing away the Ghostly Pilferer has made a lot of difference here, I think. We could have had Consecrated Sphinx out that whole time and refilled our hand, and then maybe done the Hashaton Massacre Worm thing afterwards. Maybe we'd have access to something like a Living Death now. This is a 42/42 now. Spine of Issar can destroy something, so they'll have to sacrifice a creature. I think all their creatures are food. Yeah, so if they want to pay the ward targeting the commander, then they'll have to go for that. So it targets the Ygra with Spine of Issar and sacrifices the middle creature, that was the Graz, in order to pay the ward. Oh, alright, and just I thought he had something there with all that mana held up, but just decides to let the Ygra go. So this is back up to a 13/13, so it's about to take someone out, and it goes into the right. We get a 7/5 golem. Was tapping down mana there, and not sure what he's looking to do. That's an Archdruid's Charm. Hang on a minute. Did he always have that in hand? Couldn't he have exiled this in response to the board wipe previously and wiped out all these artifacts? Am I misremembering the sequence of events here? Yeah, he went for the Shatterstorm this turn, didn't he, and wiped out all the stuff. He could have exiled the Indestructible in response to the board wipe. That's strange. I mean, the Blightsteel would still have been in play, so maybe he was just simply holding it up for that. But I think you just kind of have to hedge your bets there, to be honest. Plus he would have kept his commander in play at that point as well. Tamio's Logbook is basically blue tap draw. And then Duretti sacrificed an artifact in order to bring back the Sphinx. They got rid of the Forsaken Monument, which gets rid of the buffs. I mean, we've already seen Hashaton and Massacre Worm, so that might not be as relevant anymore. Only got 2 opponents, so draws 2 cards. Thought Vessel will put another counter on the Duretti with the Eco Gauntlet. A Mana Vault puts another counter on Duretti. Academy Manufactor to double up the token production, or triple up the token production. A land here would be ideal for the Consecrated Sphinx. Instead it is a Lightning Greaves. We're just 1 mana shy every single turn. Oh, and of course there's the Lodestone Golem anyway, so it will cost more. So we couldn't have gone for both spells anyway. It's not like we have a means of discount, but we'll try and cheat some costs with Hashaton. A Portal to Phyrexia deals with our commander. Another counter on the Duretti. I think he must have plussed on the Saheeli. He's just ignoring the extra turn thing with this for some reason. It doesn't look as though he's put mana into Portal to Phyrexia. Mana being tapped in response. So at this point we're just waiting for Living Death. I'll say no and leave our commander in the bin. Sharding Sphinx will make more Thopters. And sacrifices, it must have been a token in order to bring back the Graz. Couple of 5-power creatures into the right. So the Thopters that enter are 5/3s each with flying and indestructible. Then Karn Legacy Reforged for a lot of mana. Drew a card with this thing and passes the turn over. Ygra just passing through the turn again. There is a Tortured Existence, so we've got a means of discard now. Might as well get both of our cheap spells in for 2 mana on the Tortured Existence. It'll be 3 mana on the Lightning Greaves. Oh, it's actually 2 mana for Greaves because it's an artifact spell. So with Portal, they can reanimate something. They're going after the Research Thief to draw more cards. Karn is gonna give them a boatload of mana. They've got 27 artifact mana from the Karn. That is one with the machine. They've got some big spells in play, or some big permanents, so they'll draw a lot with that. And there we go. I have informed my opponent in the chat that he can take extra turns with Saheeli, so maybe he just didn't realise that for some reason. But is now taking an extra turn with it. Completely overextends into the right, but I think he's got around 30 damage onto us next turn anyway. Overextending over here is probably right, because he's probably holding something up. That is Arachnogenesis. He's got Indestructible on his stuff, so it doesn't really matter. He can just hold back these spiders for whatever reason, for next turn chumping. So now round to the extra turn again, and this time reanimates the Psymaster Thopterist. Makes 28 mana to Karn. 14 cards in hand. So now he's being trepidatious. He might not realise that the spiders have flying, or reach even. Yeah, now he's taking pretty much everything in, apart from, yeah, Lodestone Golems going in at us. So the flyers going to the right, the creatures on the ground going at us. Like I say, these have reach, so he just wants to chump block there really, thanks to the Indestructible. If these tokens are in the way of the blocks, I think he double blocked on a creature there actually. Yeah, if these are going to be in the way, then taking us out would have made sense there. We do go down to 7. Makes a bunch more Thopters, draws cards with the Thief. 18 cards in hand, just passes through the turn. He's got no max hand size thanks to the Thought Vessel. Alright, and then just deciding to scoop. We draw into Ledger Shredder, so I think we've given our opponent enough time. He's really playing with his food, so we'll concede there as well. We're not going to do anything either. Yeah, unfortunately getting screwed by the client and losing out on our Ghostly Pilferer there, where we should have been given the chance to hold priority after attacks and discard in order to make it unblockable. That meant that we had to take an extra turn to get another discard outlet out, which made all the difference. I think we could have had the Consecrated Sphinx out and refilled our hand, and that might have made all the difference, but this is a good showing for Saheeli and the power of turn 1 Sol Ring into Talisman again. So I'm sure I will end up showing you this one at some point, even though it's a terrible showing for Hashaton. Hopefully you all enjoy it. Be sure to consider donating on Patreon via the link in the description below, like a couple of you do already. Big thank you to those of you who do. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.